this evening by thanking everybody who has been involved over the years. There are way too many people to thank individually because so much has happened over the last 15 years? How long has it been? 15 years, something like that. But really specifically, the new people that have been showing up here in the new space since we found this place. Is that someone's phone?
Yeah, what is that?
Is that a phone going off in the background? I'm going to take this opportunity to ask you all to turn off your cell phones. That'd be awesome. And so, yeah, so many amazing people have been showing up. It's been epic. It's been unreal. And armies, literally, of volunteers that have been showing up and like making things happen. Where I walk away and I come back and some more amazing shit has been done. I mean, they literally had a bobcat in the garden and they dug the whole thing up, and it was, oh, that's Don. He's right there in the middle. Wave your hand. See, he showed up day after day. Diego over there showed up day after day. These people are like, I don't even know, like they should go home or something, because it's just like, it's crazy how much time they spend here. But I'm so grateful. And also, really grateful to the people who kept this all going between places, right? It's easy now we have a space, we can all get excited about something, but it was really hard. It got to the point where it was really, really hard. At the end of our after we got evicted, and we didn't know where we were going, and we didn't know if we had a home, and we were just kind of like surfing in the space in Soma that was about to be evicted too. And we were just like, if we get evicted again, I don't know if we're gonna make it, you know? Like it was too hard. There was a group of people that were showing up weekend after weekend, just tirelessly making stuff happen, like dragging their feet, like, oh God, when are we gonna find this place? Like literally, it was, I can't tell you how close we were. It was hard for this group of people to keep it going. And yet we managed to bridge that gap and make it over to the other side and find this incredible space that isn't just, you know, finding a new space and like moving in and being like, yeah, we have a new space. It's like the most fucking epic space imaginable. It's like, right? I mean, it's like, have you seen the fucking cottage in the garden? Sorry, I got a bit squeaky voice there. I get excited about this place, you know, I really do. And I'm excited to be in Oakland too. I'm excited to join the Oakland community. It's so vibrant over here. There's so much happening. You know, and I know that we were late to the party. I know we're a little behind the times, but we made it over here, and we're really thrilled. I was kind of kicking and screaming about it, to be honest with you, at first, because I was like, the sexual revolution belongs in San Francisco. This isn't fair. And then I was like, the sexual revolution belongs where mission control is, right? We're making it happen. So we didn't just survive, we upgraded, and that was a miracle. And so I just want to have a big round of applause, a big moment for all those amazing people that made that happen. Thank you. And so I wanted to start this evening by just telling you, I'm not going to do much with this, with standing up and with this thing, because that's kind of weird. Because I feel like I'm like at some kind of startup, like, I don't know, because I've never had a job, but I imagine that this is how it is when you have jobs.
Do a SWOT analysis.
And so, I should be on this side like this. Hi people at home, we're live streaming, because we have people all over the world that are interested in this, but I'll get to that later. Wait, don't let me get ahead of myself. We're going to start off by just doing a really quick lowdown on what the relationship is between Kinky Salon, Mission Control, and Gingerville, because I know y'all are wondering. Okay, so we start with Kinky Salon. No, we start with the vision, right? And the vision is of community, of connection, and of authenticity. And that vision does include sexuality as well, to be connected and in community together. Sexuality is one of the ways that we connect. It's one of the ways that we bond. But that's not what the space is about. The space is about authenticity and human connection within community, and we're really creating a safe space for that here. And so there's that primary vision that happens here. And from that vision was Kinky Salon. And Kinky Salon, hang on a sec. Oh, shit. Sorry, guys, I got this. So Kinky Salon is the party we all know and love. It's the costume, it's the cabaret. It was born in 2003. And then, from this same vision, Mission Control was born. Now, Mission Control is a membership, a volunteer-run membership organization that was founded in 2009, when I basically quit. And I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I was running the space with my partner at the time, Scott, and it was too much. We were like, we're done, we quit. And it was James, where's Jason? Wave your hand, Jason. Who turned around to me and said, would you consider something else? Would you consider keeping the space if we created an organization that took it over from you? And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. Do it, yeah, that's great. And I really didn't believe that he could pull it off. But all these years later, Mission Control is thriving. It's a membership-run organization. And from Mission Control, you have all the Alliance events. So that's Pink, Threshold, the events that happen here in the space that are free for allies. So allies are the members that join Mission Control. And this is a very kind of self-contained organization. And then from Kinky Salon, off on this side, we've got the global Kinky Salon, right? Which is all of those events that are happening all over the world. And so these two organizations that both kind of draw from this same vision are completely symbiotic. So going back and forth between these are resources, volunteers, ideas, and bodily fluids, obviously. And then, now what we have is Gingerville. And Gingerville is a slightly separate organization from these two because it is throwing rentals in the space. So you can throw a party here, you can have a wedding. Wouldn't this be a great place for a wedding? Weddings, bar mitzvahs, birthday parties, workshops, all kinds of things. But things that are not necessarily sex-oriented events. And so we needed to create something new because we wanted to be able to expand and throw events that weren't necessarily sex-oriented. So now we have, again, all of the symbiotic relationship going on here, body fluids, volunteers, and here we have the rentals. And the three of these organizations working together are what is going to make this space run. We would not be able to exist without one of these. The three of them together, all working together to make this happen, is what makes a space of this size and this splendor possible for us. None of us could do it alone. Are there any questions? Okay, you guys are good. Okay. I'm going to have to go back down this way. Hang
on.
Yes.
Why is there such a need for separation? I understand the separation, but I don't understand exactly.
Okay.
Why?
So I'm going to say that louder for the people at home. Why is there such a need for separation? It's more about relationships. So it's not separation, it's creating distinct entities that can operate together and separately. It has to do with business structures and who's in charge of what, and underneath it, like what the, how the operations of each organization is. And they're all self-contained. So they are in relationship to each other, but they're not, and they're completely symbiotic, but they're not separate. They're all from the same vision and they're all working together to make this happen. And part of it has to do with the fact that, Jason, yes.
Well, I was just going to, as an example, Mission Control is a membership organization. Its income has to come from the members. So if it has a lot of rentals, it gets disqualified as a membership organization. I mean, there's a nonprofit status.
So yeah, we are a non-profit, a 501c7 social club, which was a feat of tax form wrangling, and that is Mission Control. So Mission Control has to earn its money from memberships. It can't earn its money from anything else. So that's one of the reasons that Mission Control is separate. Kinky Salon is separate because Kinky Salon is my baby. And I'm like a mother hen over that thing. Like, this is where we have, you know, the voting and the, you know, the ideas about how things, and then Kinky Salon, certainly Kinky Salon San Francisco is more of my personal baby. And the global Kinky Salons, well, I'll get to that in a second because I see your hand is up.
I was wondering, didn't this Mission Control rent Gingerville for Kinky Slots?
Almost.
Okay.
We all rent from the space, yes. So we have investors that came in and bought the space for us, and they rent to all of us. So we all kind of are here together, slightly different, but don't think of us as different. Like, we're all part of the same crew. It's going to be the same volunteers. It's going to be the same people. Yes, Cameron.
No, finish your
That was it.
Oh. So I guess it reminds me a little bit of almost like public radio in a sense, where there's a thing called NPR or whatever that may be, but people in all the different things have to kind of give a little money towards it to like pull, you know, they have to buy the program, you have to buy certain things.
So
maybe
yeah,
kind of in a sense,
kind of. I mean, there's a lot of things we could compare it to. It's just what it is right now is these three kind of distinctly separate organizations that are working symbiotically together to make this space happen, because we couldn't make it happen alone. Mission Control couldn't sustain this space on their own. They just don't have the resources to make it happen. It would take well, actually that's not true. It would just take a huge amount of effort. And this is the way that we can make this space just grow really naturally and be really graceful in the space together. And so that's kind of what I wanted to show you just to start everything off tonight. And just to talk about that vision and making that just the center of these three organizations. And so, let me just get back to where I am. Hang on one second. So we're symbiotic. We can't survive without each other. That's what I just said, right? And so the global Kinky Salons are, in a way, if you're volunteering for one of these events in like Copenhagen or across the world, you are supporting Mission Control. And if you're volunteering for Mission Control, you're supporting Gingerville. It's like they're all happening together. It's all at the same kind of time, and it's all totally symbiotic. So are there any more questions about that before we move on? Yes.
So Gingerville is the owner of the space, right?
Gingerville is the name of the organization that is running the rentals at Mission Control, at this space. I know, it's like, we're gonna have to get all of these. So the space is called Gingerville. Gingerville is making Gingerville available to Mission Control, to Kinky Salon, to other events. The space is called Gingerville. And it's weird because we went from being a venue, right? So Mission Control was a venue originally. That was its identity. And then when we lost our walls, we were like, well, what is Mission Control now? And we had a lot of meetings and a lot of visioning and a lot of thought about what we were and whether we could survive outside of those walls and whether we wanted to, or whether Mission Control was that space. And a lot of people agreed that Mission Control is people. And so that is when we started to do these events in other spaces, and the idea of what Mission Control was kind of morphed from being a venue to being this membership organization that runs these events. Pink, Threshold, Velvet, Essence. But I'll go into that more in depth in a little bit. Are there any more questions specifically about this? We got that now, huh? Now tell your friends, because everyone is confused. I hope you're less confused than you were when you arrived. I'm like, my maps, yes. So I want to tell you a little bit about the history of this space, because some people come here and they say, oh my God, like, what is this place? And then other people are like, oh my God, I totally had sassy cornbread here. And so this place is the Gingerbread House. And that's also part of why we wanted to create a new brand, Gingerville, because we wanted to honor this history of this space. And we wanted to acknowledge, what has been before us, and not just come and rebrand, but just like have a little bit of respect for what had come before us, because this place deserves respect. It was founded in 1974, which by weird coincidence is the year I was born, by a woman called T.J. Robinson. And it started out as a bakery and a tea shop. It was on the corner, that building that's on the corner. And it was hugely successful. She decorated it like it was a gingerbread house, like crazy. Pink and like painted all over it. I mean, it was epic. Who saw it during that time? I mean, you could look down off the freeway and be like, what the hell is that crazy thing down there? Like, it just looked crazy. And so it was decorated really crazy, and then it expanded. And in the, oh yeah, thank you, Jason, for holding that up. There it is. There's the picture. So TJ was this amazing woman, a matriarch of this neighborhood, and she ran the space her whole life, basically. And there was the gazebo was built in like the 80s, and they also brought the cottage that's in the garden on the back of like a truck. If you look at it closely, it's actually the top story of a Victorian. If you look at the bottom story, can you see it's cut off halfway down the windows? So they actually sliced the top off a Victorian cottage in another part of Oakland, put it on the back of a truck and drove it here and dumped it. And if you look carefully, you can still see the I-beams. So you can see the metal beams that they used to carry it across Oakland. And they put it down here. And so the cottage, and upstairs, there's another room upstairs which we call the parlor, which is again just like overflowing with Victorian charm. And it was all private dining rooms. So you could come here and you could have a meal sitting in what basically felt like your own dining room. And the experience here was very much like home for a lot of people. And particularly because it was here for so long. And I mean, can you imagine what this place was like in 1974? I mean, that freeway wasn't there for a start. I think the BART line was already here. But 3 major freeways have been built in this neighborhood since. This neighborhood has gone under amazing change. Just so much has happened here. And it survived. This little place, this little weird corner of nowhere, like like there's no foot traffic here, and yet this little restaurant thrived because this amazing woman, TJ, who made it a place for people to feel like they were at home. And I can't quite imagine what it must have been like through the 80s and the 90s and being in this corner of Oakland. And it kind of blows my mind that she managed to keep this going and that so many people loved her. Like so many people, she's such a beloved character. And so a weird little thing is that there's a jazz musician who actually wrote a song called TJ's Gingerbread House. You should look that up. I was trying to get it to download it so I could play it, but I couldn't find it. So it's kind of an iconic part of Oakland history. And TJ was awarded one of America's top black chefs in 1994. So she was really like, it was a huge success here. And then her health started to go. And in 2007, the restaurant closed. And everyone was super sad. And it went into horrible disrepair and was covered in graffiti and squatted. And it just looked awful for a little while. And it was bought by a guy, and it became kind of his pet project. And so since then, since 2007, it's been owned by a guy who's still in the neighborhood. And he did some really crazy things here, like putting marble countertops on the walls and cabinet doors on the ceiling. Have you been, if whoever's been in the cottage, it is crazy out there. Like, you just walk around, you look, the more you look at this place, the more you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like the plastic ceiling and the marble walls. And so he had this as a project, and he was working on it for a while, and he was really into it. He really loved it. But then he decided to sell, and that was when we came across it. And I think it was a good thing, because I think having that break between it being TJ's and being us was probably a good thing. Having a little bit of a breather and space for people to kind of mourn and get over the loss of this amazing woman and the community that she had created here before someone else really moved in. So it's all like, ultimately it's been empty since 2007, but it hasn't been like vacant. Like, there's been someone here. It's just been his like pet project where he's just been tiling ceilings and doing weird things. And so there was another woman that worked here for the whole time, for the whole full 36 years of this restaurant being open, and her name was Noelle. And she referred to TJ as mother, as a lot of people did. Lots of people called her mom. And I just wanted to do this, have a quote that I found online. TJ was a lady like an angel. It seems to me what made her special was because she could look into your eyes and she could see your heart. She could touch your life, and she could inspire you to do things that you never thought you could. I just thought that was a beautiful way of describing somebody, and it really paints a picture in my head of this amazing woman that I feel really proud to have taken over this space and continuing it. I feel in the same vein of community, of love, of bringing people together. And I think TJ would be proud of what's happening here, She would feel the love, from all of you guys and the community. Like, this is what's keeping this space going and bringing it back to life. So she died on June 12th, 2011. And that was when, the space was in disrepair. And so it was a sad thing. Everybody was really missing her, and it was a sad thing. And so that guy made all of those upgrades and then decided to sell it to us. And so here we are now. Next door, the building that was originally the bakery before she expanded is going to become a bakery again. So we have an amazing baker moving in. It's Angel Cakes, and they make cupcakes. And Jen Angel is an amazing woman, and we're so. Of course, everything we do is better with cupcakes, right?
Yes.
Dieting. There's an awesome commercial TJ's on YouTube if you look up gingerbread Oakland. Yeah, like the 90s.
Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's wow. It's amazing. So if you want to see what TJ looked like and what this place looked like back in the day, you can find an actual 80s like cable access ad for this restaurant. So just type in TJ's Gingerbread House in Oakland into YouTube and you'll find it.
That went out on the neutral Twitter.
Oh, it did? Okay, great. Yeah, and so in a weird way, it's like this space is kind of perfect for us. It's like even the layout, we haven't really really had to do anything. I mean, it's to the layout. I mean, we haven't had to like knock down any walls. Well, I guess we did knock down that wall today. That's true. There's been a lot that's happened in the space. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to like, okay, so we have this. It kind of makes a perfect dance floor, right?
Yeah.
Right? The DJ booth that was there. You know, we have these little rooms. We have a cottage. It's kind of perfect for a play space. The parlor upstairs makes just the most perfect fungeon. We call it a fungeon, not a dungeon, because dungeons are so done. But fungeons are so fun! Right? Do people just boo me? I had a couple of you in the background there. Like, fungeons are more fun. Come on. Anyway, so is there anything else that, I mean, does anyone have any questions about the space and TJ? And I don't know if I'll have all the answers for you, but if anyone has any more questions about the space before I move on. Yes?
I'm just curious, was there still a full kitchen in that house where the bakery's going in?
Was there still a full kitchen? No, it had been stripped, completely stripped. So there was nothing left. There were no fixtures or anything here when we arrived. So Angel Cakes has had to completely refit the kitchen next door. Anyone else? Yes.
When does Angel Cakes open?
When does Angel Cakes open? Good question.
It just says December.
December. So soon. That's not helpful, is it? Sorry. Is there anything else?
Are you gonna have finished baked goods, or is it gonna be?
No, I think the baked goods are going to be pretty vanilla.
This guy, did you hire him?
I'm sorry about that. Okay, so next up, I want to give you the quick lowdown on what's been happening with the global kinky salons. So you've heard, right, that there are kinky salons all over the world. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with Los Angeles. So I've been going to every single one down in LA. I've been co-producing it, and it's been super fun. We have joined up with a community down there called the Syrup Loft. And it's kind of weird because, you know, my experience of LA has always been that it's quite a tough town to get to know people, right? It's kind of a difficult nut to crack. It's like you can tell there's cool stuff happening there, but you don't know where it is, and you're not cool enough for anyone to tell you. Or is that just me?
Yes.
I have had this experience in LA. Anyway, so when I met the people at the Syrup Loft, it was like the shoehorn into the weird, groovy, underground, burner, sexy crowd in LA, and like everyone was there. It's just like everyone was there. It's like, wow, this community already exists. There are like whole communities the size of the entire San Francisco scene that are just a secret, that you only know if you're a part of it. And that's part of how they managed to stay cool in being such a huge city with so many weird tourists and newbies and, you know, stuff happening. So the Syrup Loft was really the way that Kinky Salon started, and we couldn't have really started without those guys. And the parties have been amazing. They're so fun. Bix, right?
Oh my God.
Bix came down last time with David and me, and oh my God, it's just been so fun. And the whole place is just this gorgeous loft in downtown LA, and you really have to come down and check out the parties. They're amazing. It's not far. I always take the bus, and it's only $20 on the megabus. I mean, I'm like, that is a no-brainer for me. It might take 7.5 hours, but I catch up with my emails. Their event coming up is called Jingle Balls. Right, they get it. And And so, yeah, you should go and check that out. It's in December sometime. You can link to all of the global kinky salons from the main Kinky Salon website at kinkysalon.com. There's also the New Orleans party, which just had a very successful event, which was a secret agent themed event called Top Secret Bottoms Up. And I get reports from those guys. We went down there. That was part of the tour that we went. When was that? When did we go there, Christina? May of last year. And oh God, New Orleans is amazing. It's such an amazing town, right? Who's been to New Orleans? Right? Such an amazing town. I mean, they just get it. It's like a super creative city, and they've been moving to different venues, and I'm not sure that they've settled down yet on finding a permanent home, but they've got a solid team going, and they're pulling off some amazing events, just cranking them out one after the other. Then we got New York. Christina is actually one of the people that started the New York contingent. Thank you, Christina. And they've been going for how long now, Christina? Since August of last year. They just had their big Halloween party, which the theme was La Petite Morte, which I thought was a great theme. And they have an awesome venue in Brooklyn, and it's like the quintessential Brooklyn loft. You know, it's just so cool. It's like, you know, the distressed brick walls that are just dirty enough to make it feel cool, but not dirty enough that it doesn't feel clean. You know what I'm saying? You've been to those lofts. And they have a super good like cabaret, and there's a really tight community over there. A lot of ex-San Francisco people are there. Norm Enormous, who was our favorite boylesque performer in San Francisco for many years, performed all the time for us because we just loved watching him take his clothes off. So talented. So he's in New York now, and so he's been helping out with those events, and also Trixie Schickser, who is part of the community here that is now over there, and you know, the amazing Mel, who has been hosting the parties. And now I start naming names, it's kind of difficult because there are so many people involved, and it's such a beautiful community that's happening there, and pulling off these amazing kinky salons. Next up, we have Seattle. That is their first event is happening on Thanksgiving weekend. I'm going to be flying up there. The team in Seattle is amazing. They are like a well-oiled machine. There are tons of them. Like as soon as I put out the call, like, hey, you know, because as soon as I get one inquiry from a city, I'll often just post on Facebook and be like, hey, like this city is coming online, who wants to be involved? And with Seattle, it was like, so many people were like, yes, please. And so there's like this huge team of people. There's this huge team of people making it happen, and they found a venue and they're pulling it. I mean, it's just so amazing watching their email threads going back and forth. It's just like so much thought and so much energy has gone into maintaining the vision of Kinky Salon in Seattle. I don't know where the venue is off the top of my head, but it's on their website. I mean, well, maybe it is. Maybe you have to RSVP. Yeah. But yeah, kinkysalonseattle.org is where you'll find them. And then there's Portland. Portland has been going for a while now. It's been a few years, like maybe 3 years. Their team has kind of changed out, and they've had different people involved. They've struggled without being able to find a decent venue that's really a permanent home for them. This is actually one of the most common problems with kinky salons is they say, oh, we want to throw a kinky salon. And I say, okay, well, step one, find a venue. And often they can't. It's one of the hardest things to do is to find someone that will be able to host a kinky salon. A venue that is open to kind of sexuality, but that isn't like a swinger club. Because the vibes are different. No, I don't think Portland is in a swinger club. No, New Orleans was in a swinger club for a while. So it's one of those challenges. But Portland is doing amazingly. They're still surviving. They're chugging along. They're throwing great parties. NorCal, you guys. The Valley Fire. It totally fucked NorCal. NorCal was in Middletown. NorCal is toast. NorCal is closed. NorCal is not happening anymore. It was our only event that was not in an urban environment. It was our only event that happened outside of a city. And obviously because it was in proximity to Harbin Hot Springs, it was kind of a weekend destination, so people could go for the whole time. And it was a really sweet little party, and it was happening at the casino in Middletown. And the casino is still there, but a lot of the people that were the people making it happen were Harbin residents, and they've all been displaced now. So unfortunately, NorCal is kind of not happening right now. But we're integrating them into the other events. So the people that were running those events are kind of dispersed all over the place. And so we're bringing them in. So we're bringing them into San Francisco, into Portland. We're trying to like take those waifs and strays back into the community. Austin was actually the first ever Kinky Salon to open, and it was running for a long time and now is on a hiatus while the team kind of is trying to figure out what they want to do. And it's been on hiatus for a while, like a year. And they keep saying, no, we're gonna do it again, but it hasn't happened yet. And so if you have friends that are in Austin who want to help make a Kinky Salon happen, let me know, because I'll put them in touch with these people. And I think the more people they have, the more support that they have, the more likely they are to restart that one. And then over to Europe. We had the best trip last year, man, I gotta tell you. The posse of us that went for the European tour last spring was just such an amazing experience. We had a different Kinky Salon in each city, and they planned them so that they were every weekend and we could go to all of them. And we got to bond with each of the teams and couch surf in their houses, and it was amazing. London, my hometown. I never thought Kinky Salon would survive in London because I just didn't think that the vibe would be right. I didn't think they would get it, but London gets it. They have huge parties, like 400 people. Like, they're massive. And I mean, it's London, so there's a lot of people there, you know? But they pull off these enormous parties, and there's a great team of people making it happen. They've been going, gosh, it must be like their 7-year anniversary in January or something? 6 or 7, something like that. Anyway. Amazing team, fabulous people, and kind of, in a way, my contact people for Europe, because they've been doing it so long. I totally trust them, I know them. And so when another place opens in Europe, it's often through the London one. And so then there's also the Copenhagen event. Copenhagen is not as big as London. It's much more kind of egalitarian, you know, like the people that run it, there's a bigger team of people that run it, and they're all like really super egalitarian. It's very Scandinavian in the way that it's run. It's like super efficient. Like, we do not have time for meetings. I don't know what that accent was. It sounded weird. It sounded like a Nazi. Sorry. They don't have time for meetings. They just want to get their things done. Each person has a job and they just get their things done. That's super efficient. And then there's Berlin, and Berlin is fabulous, of course. Who's been to Berlin? What an amazing city. I mean, again, you know, with that same kind of vibe as New Orleans, it's just one of those places that just manages to have a really artistic community because it's cheap to live and it's kind of half falling down, and that's its charm, and things happen in weird holes in the walls, and you go through closets and downstairs and you're like, where am I? Whoa, it's a whole club down here. Like, very, very, very groovy kind of spot. And the place that we went to, the Kinky Salon, when we were there, was in an old theater. And it was a really amazing space. And the team out there is just fabulous. And then the last one on the list is Paris. Because you know what, guys? Kinky Salon Paris is happening. Yeah, and I think that it's, you know, for Paris, it's an amazing time right now because of all the attacks that just happened there this weekend, right? Like, I was like supposed to be having a Skype call with the team from Paris a couple of days after. And I was like, if you want to postpone, I totally get it. And they're like, fuck no! Are you fucking kidding? We are not, no, we're having Kinky Salon in Paris. Oh yeah, we're bringing Kinky Salon to Paris. So it's like this fiercely, you know, liberated and like holding on to that French culture of liberation and just being like, oh yeah, they're not slowing down. Paris is not slowing down. These people are ready. And the group of people that are that are talking to me about throwing a Kinky Salon there. They already have a team, they already have a venue. It's going to be happening pretty soon, probably in the springtime. Paris in the spring. Who wants to go to Paris? Everyone wants to go. Wait, I had some more things written down. I threw this down here prematurely. So yeah, there are opportunities to help with the global kinky salons. It's reached the point now where it's expanded and expanded to the point that I need help with the kind of core of how it's run. Just to give you a little bit of an idea about how the global kinky salons are working. Basically, each team is totally autonomous and self-managing. Like, I'm not the boss of the kinky salons. I don't tell them what to do. I don't give them a budget. I don't tell them where to throw their parties or tell them how much their tickets have to be or, tell them how to run it. Well, no, that's not true. I tell them how to run it, but that's all I do. I give them training at the beginning, and then I kind of let them go to do their own thing. And there's a list of agreements that are really specific about what it is that makes a kinky salon. And they have to agree to that and kind of sign off to that list of things. But then once they've done that, they're really free to be creative and to manage their team however they want to do it. So each kinky salon is different. Each kinky salon is a reflection of the city and a reflection of the team. So some are a little bit more kinky, and some are a little bit more swingery, and some are a little bit more arty and like focused on art. And some, they're just, each of them is very different. And so the fact that they are all managing themselves and that I'm not managing them means that it doesn't actually take that much work for me to do it. And that's how I've managed to spread the kinky salon vision without having a huge management team kind of like, okay, and now we're building the website for the thing, and now we're doing, it's like, we're not in charge of the kinky salons. So I'm not in charge of London, but what I am is an advisor. And it's mandatory that they get advice. But when they get that advice, they can choose to ignore me. Which I think is a good way of doing things. And they've also, as a group, been given the power to fire me at any point if I'm doing a shitty job. So I'm really putting the control of how these things are run into the hands of the people that are running them, mainly because I actually really firmly believe in group genius. And I think that what people can come up with together as a team, particularly as a global team, is way better than anything I could have possibly imagined. I mean, the cultural differences between the different cities, even just as we are now within Western kind of cities, is really huge. Like, they're really different. If you try and impose one management structure on all of these things, I think you'd annoy and frustrate a lot of people. So allowing each city to run them the way that feels good for them, and then letting them be creative and have ownership of their own kinky salon is where I think the magic is really happening in these global events. And so I've been kind of doing it with Christina and a couple of other core people who've just been helping me, on the top of things, kind of keeping things going. But we could use some extra help now. So if anyone out there is interested in helping with mainly online stuff, to be honest, it's like helping people set up their websites, helping people, making sure that people have the information that they need, being a taskmaster, making sure that everything, that the communication is coming back to the global group. We have all of these amazing cities happening, and one of the challenges that we're finding is how everyone is so busy throwing parties and building community that they find it difficult to communicate back to each other about what's happening with them. So we want to hear their stories, we want to gather all of that stuff, and that's going to take some energy, I think, from the core to reach out and make that happen. And so afterwards, if you want to come up to me or to Christina and talk about potential opportunities for volunteering for the global group, that's something that's happening, that's coming up. And then there's also help that we need here. So, we're in this beautiful new space, and it brings along with it its own set of challenges. Things are shifting from how they were before. Like, there's just the ways that we do things in the space are having to change a little bit because of the nature of the space. And so, for example, where in the past we've always had these walk-around hosts, people who are keeping an eye on things and being the eyes and the ears of the party. The space is kind of big and spread out. It's kind of a difficult thing to have a walk-around host who's like going all the way from the cottage and up to the parlor. And so we're kind of separating that out into more fixed hosting spaces. And we don't really know how it's going to work yet because we're just figuring this out as we go along. And so if there's anybody who's a volunteer who's volunteered, a reasonable amount, has done some stuff here, and wants to be part of that team that's like figuring out how this space is going to really work and helping us host these events here in this space, then you can talk to Jess. Jess is over here. She's the volunteer coordinator for Kinky Salon. And so we need more experienced volunteers. We're actually finding it really easy to get new volunteers because everybody's excited about the space. And then all the old school volunteers are all just coming and partying. And we really need you guys now, more than ever, to help us hold this container and make sure that as it's being born into really solid ground together. And so if any of you out there want to help with that, then please do let us know. As you know, we actually have an event this Saturday rather. Kinky Salon Cyber Sex is happening this Saturday. And so on Friday, we are having an evening kind of setup, but we want to do some extra stuff around the space too. Like every time we're doing an event here, we can upgrade. Unlike the last, and then put it up and take it all down, put it up and take it all down. Now we can put things up and they stay, and we can make improvements. And so before every event, before every Kinky Salon, I'm wanting to have like an evening of improvements in the space. And so if anyone out there wants to help with that, that's what, tomorrow? That's tomorrow. It'll be fun. Again, speak to Jess about that. So does anyone have any questions? I've been talking for a long time with no breaks. So come on, yes.
My question is, what long-term, capital improvement projects are on the burner? No, not the super urgent ones.
What long-term projects are on the burner? Well, we've been having a little joke around here, which was, there was phase 1, which was the first party, right? In order to get to the first party. So we got the space in September. We busted our asses. There was a group of, raise your hand if you were part of the teams that helped during those beginning times. Right? So many people showed up for action days. They showed up to help sew curtains, to help put up lights. I mean, so much work. And we would be like, is that phase 1 or is it phase 2? Like, that was the joke. Phase 1 was just like, what do we have to do to have a party in this space? Just our first party. And then there's phase 2, which is what we're in now. This is phase 2. We were really excited to get to phase 2. And then Jason told me the other day, we've been talking about phase 3, and he keeps saying to me, oh yeah, that's phase 3. And then he said to me yesterday, yeah, well, phase 2 is really, really, really long, and phase 3 might actually never happen. And I was like, wait a second, have you been manipulating me this whole time with your talk of phase 3? And so when it comes to the really big upgrades in the space, when it comes to, the major things that are happening, Jason is the person to talk to. Jason is kind of the head of Gingerville, and he's going to be in charge of a lot of the upgrades and the physical stuff that's happening in the space. So there's lots happening, but actually, in a weird way, so much about this place was so perfect as well. So does that answer your question? Not very well. Sorry, you have to talk to Jason is the answer to that question.
Are there people living here the way there were at Mission Control?
Are there people living here? There is an apartment next door that's part of next door's building. So it's not actually part of this building. There's nobody living in Gingerville. It's not a living space. I don't know where they would go, to be honest. they'd have to hide during events, sleep in the closet.
There's an attic over there, isn't there?
Yeah, you don't want to go in that attic, it's scary. Michael's been up there.
It's my attic.
He planted a flag up there. Yes, Sassy.
So with the global Kinky Salon, so you say they have a lot of autonomy, but how do you, I assume that they have to at least adhere to a certain set of principles to keep the Kinky Salon name. So how do you make sure that they stay within your vision? Or is it possible for them to go outside of that where you say, hey,
Yes.
this is not what I believe in and you cannot continue?
Good question. How do I maintain the agreements of Kinky Salon with these other cities? Well, there is a list of agreements that they make. They're quite specifically laid out. For anybody who is a nerd and wants to like nerd out on Kinky Salon, there's a website at kinkysalon.com/companion. It's the Kinky Salon Companion, and it's what I share with the global Kinky Salons that allows them to throw their own events. And so it breaks down everything of how to throw a Kinky Salon, from the vision to the practical details of how to deal with a coat check, or like right down to the minutia, to like how to deal with the building Kundalini energy during the day when you start having panic attacks. Everything is in there, and the agreements are the beginning. So the first thing that you do is you kind of you look at this list of things. You say, is that something you can do? And you say, yes, that's something I can do. If I think that they're not maintaining that vision, which has only happened once, and it was very early on, and it was before any of this stuff was really articulated, but it was when this stuff started to come up. There was one event that was having promotional materials that were pretty standard heteronormative female objectification. Women sucking lollipops, you know, just very similarly bodied. And I contacted them, and we had a conversation back and forth for a long time about it. And eventually I said to them, look, I think you're throwing a different party. I don't think this is actually a Kinky Salon. And they were like, yeah, you're right. So we've never actually had any conflict over it. Kinky Salon is very different. It's not a franchise, and it's not like a brand that I'm like got the copyright to, and I'm gonna like come after you with my lawyers. You know, that's not what it is. It's a community that's being upheld by the community. And so what happened with that one event was that all the other events were turning around and going, yeah, I don't feel comfortable with this. And you guys, and so they were telling them as much as I was. So what happens is when there's one that's not like the other, it's really noticeable, and everybody kind of stands up for it. It's not me saying, I must maintain my vision. It's the community kind of stepping up to take care of itself. You know, and that's the way that's happened so far. And we haven't had any problems really so far. We've just, moved through these challenges, and it's worked out. Yes.
Quick update on Seattle. We're actually, Ronald was doing a lookup while we were talking, and the Seattle area is currently working with the Foundation for Sex Positive Culture, which is a fantastic area in Washington State. In fact, we honestly believe it's a staple for Seattle in the kink community.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually have a space called the Center for Sex Positive Culture, otherwise known as the Wet Spot. So I think it's a very strong relationship.
Yeah, there is a strong relationship between those two organizations. We're not actually throwing an event at the center because they don't allow alcohol. It's an alcohol-free space. And, you know, Kinky Salon is kind of a party. You kind of want to have a cocktail. And so it wasn't really a fit, even though we're very much in alignment, and they're very supportive of what we're doing and very supportive of the vision. Who is that? Is that for me? Can you pass it to me? I wanna say hi.
It's not to you. Oh, it's not.
No, it's not.
Oh, that was hilarious. So are there any more questions about the global Kinky Salons? Yes, Jason.
How can we best help them from here? Like, how can the Kinky Salons help each other across the seas or across the miles?
Well, I think the biggest way that we can help these different Kinky Salons is to spread the word that they're happening to our friends. You know, Kinky Salon is all word of mouth. We've never had an ad for Kinky Salon anywhere, and we tend to try and avoid the press as much as possible because it helps maintain the safety of the community. If we're all friends and friends of our friends, then we all know each other, and it creates a party that's more like a house party, which is really the vibe of a kinky salon. So if you know people in Seattle, if you know perverts in Seattle, in Portland, in Los Angeles, and I noticed that the LA team is back there. Daphne and Yoni, wave your hands. I don't know when they arrived. But those guys are the guys from Syrup Loft that have been throwing these amazing parties down in LA that you are all going to come to because it's not far and you have no excuse.
It's only $20.
Yeah, it's $20 on the bus. Come on, man. You can go on the bus with me for 7.5 hours. That'd be awesome. And so, yeah, the biggest thing that you can do is let your friends know. And then if you're interested in getting involved at a core level, then let me know. And then there's all kinds of things that are happening on that level where we're going to be able to help support these communities. So my goal is to have more and more resources available for these communities so that we can have manuals and training videos and stuff that makes it really easy. So when there's an event that comes online that says, I don't really understand, why do you have to do this do's and don'ts at the door? Like, what does that mean? And how does it work? And how do you do that? Like, wouldn't it be great to have like a video from every city around the world of each person doing the charter and showing why it's important and talking about what's important about that and having this perspective from all these different people. So I want to work on these like multimedia projects from all the different cities so that we have all these resources available for the global community so that when a community comes online, it's really easy. And one thing that I haven't made clear, which I perhaps should have at the beginning, is the way that a kinky salon is started. Is there's a form on the Kinky Salon website and literally anyone can fill it out and say, I want to start a kinky salon. I don't go start kinky salons. I don't go, oh, we should have a kinky salon in Seattle. Let's start one. I'm going to find the people in Seattle to make that happen. That's not how it works. They contact me. And then I say, okay, cool. Well, first thing you have to do is form a team. When you have a team, let's have a Skype meeting. And that's how the ball starts rolling. And if they've been to a kinky salon before, if they're experienced volunteers, if I know them, then obviously the process is going to be a lot quicker. But if I don't know them, even if they've never been to a kinky salon before, there's a possibility that they could start one. So Paris contacted me because they're burners and they were at Burning Man and everyone was talking about kinky salon in their camp because they have a sex positive camp that they do at Burning Man. And they were like, we want to start a kinky salon in Paris. But they had never been to a kinky salon. So I was like, well, get your asses to a kinky salon. So the whole team went to London and they all volunteered and they all helped make a kinky salon in London happen. And then the London team is going to go to Paris to support them for their first event. So it's like, even if they haven't even met us before, it's still possible to have that happen. It's amazing. Hey.
Have you had any interest from non-Western?
Have I had any interest from non-Western? That's such an interesting question. Yes, I have. I've had lots of interest, but no follow through. I've had India, I've had Jerusalem, I've had somewhere in China, weird places that I'm like, oh hell yeah, let's make that happen. But they haven't come to fruition yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing that happen and seeing the differences culturally and how that would happen. I mean, one of the amazing things about Kinky Salon is that there is this core of what makes the Kinky Salon magic happen that can be cross-cultural, and that, you know, all these different events, like I say, have such different personalities and are all run in such different ways because they're in these different cities. And I'm really curious to see what that would be like spreading outside of the Western world. Yes.
Speaking of different cultures, now that we're in Oakland, I feel like there's a great opportunity for, I don't know if it's Kinky Salon, Mission Control, Gingerbread House, etc., to become a little more queer and trans friendly. And I was wondering what you think would be the best way for someone like me to get involved and help make that happen, especially for people of color, also like me. Because I love everything about the parties except that I don't see people like me there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, and I would love for it to be more inclusive space where people like me to come here, and it's really hard to get other people like me to come here because every time they do, they don't also see other people like me.
Yeah, I'm completely with you, 100%. That is definitely a thing that's always been part of the vision of what we do, that there's this inclusive vibe, that we never discriminate, and that there's always been this very open door policy, but then people aren't coming through the door. And I know that that's been an issue. And we are interested in moving forward, creating a space that's more welcoming for trans, queer, people of color. And I think what it takes is for people like you to get more involved. And there is an invitation there to people, to everybody, to get more involved and help us to create that space. Because you know, I am who I am. I can only do so much. I can only say, you're welcome, as much as I can. I would like to also create space here in Gingerville for activism. And I think that there's a huge opportunity here. We have this space and it's really central, and there's an opportunity to have people be able to have meetings here. We've actually been doing a queer math night here for people who are wanting to learn math but feeling marginalized and not wanting to go to a regular mainstream classes. They've been coming here and taking math classes. I stole their pad. And so I think more events like that happening in the space, and creating smaller things so that we can have people feel safe and have their thing here before they kind of go to the bigger events. I know that the events here are intimidating, you know. It's an intimidating thing to step into, and it's a difficult space. Just because of everything that's happening here in terms of sexuality, it's just going to be a bit scary. If I had $1 for every time someone said how scary it was here, and then by the time they walked in the door, they're like, oh my God, this totally isn't scary at all. So.
That being said, we're relatively new members, and I actually identify as queer myself, and only recently I've been able to actually feel more comfortable by being at the parties here.
And so you're saying that recently, since the move, that you feel more comfortable here?
Right, absolutely.
I think there's a lot of reasons why that might be. I think there was just, the last place was a little close quarters, and I think that might have been a huge thing. It was just kind of like, oh, you know, and everyone was feeling that. That space wasn't ideal. And so it's really great to have this new space. And here we are landing in this new space. We get to make the intention. We get to build it the way that we want to build it. So I think we should take all of this inspiration and say, yes, this is what we want it to be. And like maybe there's space there for some kind of visioning meeting happening in the future, you know, sometime soon, where we can talk about these things more in depth, where it's less of me presenting and more of people's ideas and bringing things forward. And maybe we can all bring friends from these diverse, different pockets of humanity that we want to really make welcome here and invite them to participate in that conversation, you know.
Are there conversations that happen regularly that involve the people who run the space or the individual organizations that are on the map?
There are not regular events that happen with these organizations right now, but we've only just got this space, and so much of our energy has been towards the physical stuff of making it happen. And so now we're in the place where like, okay, now we're ready to start opening up to those events. So I think this is great thread. Maybe you can talk to me afterwards and we can move forward. And I think Biggs has something to say.
I can't believe you didn't tell her about that.
I know.
There's a party called Velvet that Biggs hosts. It's been on hiatus recently, just because we haven't had the resources while we've been between spaces, but it's coming back. And Biggs, do you want to just give a one sentence? What is Velvet?
Velvet is a party for queer and bi women, trans folks, and genderqueer individuals.
There you go.
I'm familiar with Velvet. My pronoun is them, and
So sorry.
I don't go because it's more of a women's community, and I like cis guys. I like to fuck cis guys.
Okay.
So if there's an opportunity to host
We would
something
love
like
your
that,
input.
or
And maybe we can
be
have
a
another
part of
event.
that, I'd love to chat.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, Jen Pin.
So purely selfish question.
Yes.
Are we soon going to be back to 7 or 8 parties a month? And possibly even more if we're renting the space on nights we're not using it?
Yes, we are going to be ramping up the amount of events happening in the space. We have to be able to maintain this space.
I want to give that feedback to them, so that they're planning for.
Oh.
Work all of those parties.
Jan Pan, by the way, if you don't know who this amazing woman is, she is our guardian at our gateway. She. And she's also a pervert.
I am part of the community as well.
Along the same lines, day play?
Say again?
Along the same lines, not just evening events, day play?
Oh yeah, there's lots of opportunity for daytime events here. It's empty most of the time during the day. Particularly once we have all of the renovations done, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for daytime events. And the really nice thing about this space is it's super configurable. So we could like have an event happening in the gazebo, and then have a completely separate event happening upstairs, and they have their own entrances. So, you know, there's just lots of opportunities for things to happen here in the space during the daytime. Yes, Jason.
There are two events kind of in the woodwork. One is a queer event. It's just whatever that means. And it's all-inclusive queer event. And there are people who have approached me to form a team to make that happen. Another idea to have is kind of like maybe a Sunday afternoon game day and play party combined.
Sexy nerd.
So this is relevant to my interest.
So what Polly said about Kinky Salon is true about any mission control style event. The first thing is create a team and then set up a meeting. And so nothing happens really until those two things happen. And then the ball starts rolling.
Yeah, I mean, we have an amazing amount of support and resources for you guys to make things happen here in this space. It's not just about us making things happen or you volunteering on a team of something that's already happening. If you have an idea, if you have something that you want to see happen in this space, there are opportunities here, huge amounts of opportunities to make amazing things happen here. So please let us know if you have an idea, because the first step is the idea, you know, and then the next step is building the team, and then we can make it happen together. We have everything we need to make these events happen at this point. Any other questions?
Speaking of points,
Yes.
is there any plan or possibility in the works to make hard points for rope things to happen here?
Hard points for rope things. That's more, again, a Jason question. I think if they are, they'll probably be upstairs in the parlor. The parlor is more of our BDSM space. And I'm not quite sure what would happen if you tried to do it. I don't know that the ceiling would.
It would have to be. The room up there is metal, it could work, but the plan up there is it's going to be in the parlor and it's phase 2.
Phase 2! At least that's not phase 3, because I just heard that that's not even happening. Yeah. That's the way that Jason fobs me off. Yes!
Okay, I don't want to make an enemy of security, but I am curious if it's possible to go any later than 3 a.m.
Is it possible to go later than 3 a.m.? Yes, it is. Kinky Salon goes until 3:30. We get everyone out of here finally at 4. We're not doing overnights. There's a lot of reasons why we're not doing overnights. The main one is that it's too much hard work. The people that are volunteering to house manage, if you're trying to make people stay up past 4 o'clock in the morning, it's just too hard. And so we're not really an all-night kind of community. We never have been, and so it's not something that we're planning on starting in this space. But maybe phase 3. Anyone else? Are we done with questions? Yes.
Sanitation and cleaning and organization and recycling. That's kind of
Sanitation and cleaning, and so the VIPs of Kinky Salon are the people who take out the trash. Did you guys know that? There was one time really early on in the community where we actually created a VIP room and roped it off and said that it was only accessible to people that had actually taken out the trash. It was kind of a joke, but it was kind of real too. And there were people that were sat in there like, I earned my place in this room. And then there were like actual VIPs, like famous people who tried to go in there and got kicked out. I'm sorry, you can't be in here. This is for the VIPs. This is for the people who take out the trash. I didn't answer that question at all, did I? Again, you know, so I think these are things that we're like figuring out right now. It's all new systems. V is the person to talk to. Jason is the person to talk to. Jason, again.
I want to talk about what our plan is right now. Is we basically have two bins. We have one for cans and bottles, and we have a bin for compost. That's our major garbage collection. And the cans and bottles we give to one of our neighbors who recycles them, and the compost we have that picked up every week. So the cups, all the cups with the green on them, all the paper towels, condoms, they're all compostable. There are small trash cans for actual trash or, you know, icky stuff, but most everything that we go through in large quantities can be put in cans and bottles or compost. So look for those.
Anyone else?
Are condoms really compostable?
Condoms are compostable, yes, that is correct. I looked it up online really specifically for mission control. A long time ago. Yeah.
Latex condoms are, not latex condoms.
Yes, okay. Yes, latex condoms. Thank you. That's true. So I feel like we're coming to a close here. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'm so excited to be in this amazing new home with you guys. And thank you to John for setting up the live feed, which has been going.
Say again?
Imagine having this many people in that one little room.
No, I know. Isn't it amazing? We upgraded, you guys. It's a fucking gazebo with sea monsters. It's crazy. Okay, so let's all hang out. If anyone wants to talk to me about anything, come and chat. I'll be by the box of wine in the bar. Again, Jess is right there if you want to talk about Kinky Salon volunteering. If you want to talk about LA, that's Daphne and Yoni right there. If you want to talk about New York or the Global Kinky Salon, you can talk to Christina. And of course, talk to Jason about anything relating to the space and physical stuff here. And Michael, if you're talking about anything with upstairs in the parlor. Got it, everyone?